So I just got home from the vacation that, if you aren't aware, I was on when I streamed SGDQ, streamed for SGDQ. I'm going to quickly at the start of this read the stream or the thread that I made in response to some criticism that I've seen directed towards Jadelyn, which I don't think is fair. I'll read the thread and then I'll elaborate. I would like to publicly state that I do not agree with the sentiment I've seen floating around that the donation readings caused me to top out at SGDQ. There were many factors working against me during the run, and none of them were the fault of anyone at GDQ. I worked until 6 a.m. and was only able to take a 4-hour nap before my run. I would have slept more, but I had a long drive to start my vacation today. Today being the day of my run. I forgot my laptop charger at home and had to hastily set up OBS on a friend's computer. This ate into the time that I had hoped to use for practice. I didn't have headphones that would allow me, both myself and my co-commentator, to hear the host. Mine are Bluetooth, and they would have worked fine on my laptop, but my friend's desktop does not have Bluetooth. So I had to do solo commentary with effectively no time to mentally prepare for such a thing. Finally, the point of GDQ is to raise money for charity. Large donations should be read with priority. Even if it caused me to tap out, which it did not, people still, by and large, enjoyed the run, and it inspired donations. This is good. So that's the thread. Very simply put, I think that Jadelyn did a great job as host, and I think that it was perfectly fine, and it did not throw me off to have that donation read. I mean, it looks really bad. We'll talk about it when it gets there, but I knew that donations would be read, and I knew that the commentary would inevitably get interrupted by some donation. Not because anybody's being rude or anything, or because it's unreasonable, but just because that's just the nature of things. It's impossible for one person to have one stream of consciousness while another person has a duty to read certain messages without there being some clash there. That's fine. Okay, so to elaborate on the story from the thread a little bit. So I work nights. I got off at 6, and then I got picked up by my friend who was going to do the commentary, Margot. And she drove me across several states along with my wife so that we could hang out and play Dungeons and Dragons in person. We usually play online. That was a pretty long trip, and I tried to take a nap before I played because, I wanted to be, reasonably well rested. And I have been practicing a lot. I practiced in the car, on the car ride. And I practiced before and after work. I'd been practicing every single day. I'd been doing multiple runs per day. And I had about a 90% success rate on getting to 999 and about a 80% success rate on getting GM. So I was feeling very confident. And I was doing all of these practice runs while trying to be somewhat multitasking. So I would either be listening to something, or I would be talking with somebody in a call, or just something that would make it so that I didn't have my sole focus on the game, because I wanted to be making sure that I was practicing having my attention somewhat divided. However, I was still under the impression that I would have a co-commentator for the entire time. Before this run started, I woke up at 4. My run was at 5. They had told me that tech checks would be at 4:30. And so that's what I had planned for. And by the way, I had already set up OBS on my friend's computer before I took the nap. So that's not what all of this is about. But then I woke up and I had several messages on Discord, in the SGDQ server, this saying hey, we need you in there. We're doing the tech check now. Where are you? Come on, please respond. And I was kind of shook a little bit because I had been told that 4:30 was when I needed to show up for my tech check. And now suddenly I'm waking up at 4 o'clock and I'm already late. So I don't really know exactly what happened there. That wasn't a huge deal or whatever, but it was like, it did kind of scare me a little bit. So I rushed. I got into my friend's room. We turned on her computer, loaded up Discord and everything, and I joined the call. And I we tried to do a quick setup. Everything was set up except for the fact that we didn't have a way for both the commentate, like my co-commentator Margot and me, to both hear the host, and that it was very important that we both hear the host. So I was told basically like figure something out. It be like essentially like 15 minutes before the run, or else you're gonna have to do solo commentary. And we just didn't really have any equipment in the house that would allow us to do that, because we didn't have like, you know, something like this even would have been fine, just like earbuds, but all we had was like big like chunky headsets that like, you know the ones. So there's not really a good way for two people to hear that, unless you just turn it up so loud that you may as well just be not using headphones at all. And not using headphones means that you can hear the stream and the host through my mic, and that's just like a whole like there is like echo cancellation and stuff, but it distorts the sound quality enough that it's not up to the standards of an event like SGDQ. So that wasn't viable. And so I had to do solo commentary. And I was told this pretty much like right before my run, and this is my fault. They made it very clear, you know, if I am on a different setup, I should have done this should have told them that I needed to do a new tech check setup, which I think is very fair. My like explanation for why I didn't, not necessarily an excuse, but just an explanation for why I didn't, is because I got off at 6. We had a long car ride. I got to my friend's place at like noon, and I needed that nap. I desperately needed that nap. So I you know, set up the computer as well as I could. I kind of thought that I wouldn't really even have the option to do another tech check setup. It didn't even like occur to me that would be a thing that they would want me to do. I just like redid all the steps that worked fine when I did my previous tech check setup on my friend's computer, and then I went to sleep. So, you know, I could have handled that better. I'm not gonna mince words about that. I could have handled that better, but that's what happened. And you know, there's a lot of speedruns where I think you could do completely solo commentary and be fine. Like if it were Metroid Dread, which is my other main speed game, I could do any category that I have run before, solo commentary, and it might be slower by like several minutes than what I'm used to, but it would finish. The thing about Tetris the Grandmaster, and like really just kind of Tetris in general, is that if you top out, like if you mess up a couple times, you top out. And if you top out, that's just it. You don't get to like restart the boss fight or whatever. You're just done. And so to that extent, it's a lot scarier than a lot of other speed games. So having that mental energy taken up by the commentary, I tried really hard to just sort of like lean back on things that I've explained a million times, which is why I think the commentary was kind of shallow, but people seem to have liked it. At this point, I think I'm just talking about the run, so I do want to just kind of go over the video, and we'll talk about what happened, and I can talk about my mindset and things that happened and stuff. Hopefully that's enjoyable. First thing, this is my clipping of the video, because I noticed that the Games Done Quick channel's clipping started before the first donation that was relevant to my run. And you'll see why I think this is a really important donation to have included.
We also have a special $50 donation from Lucina that says, "Everyone from the Tetris Book Club is excited for you. Good luck, Charlotte. With love, Lucina." So
Lucina is my girlfriend. At the very end of the run, you'll hear me shout out my girlfriend and my wife. My wife was with me on this trip. My girlfriend, that's Lucina. So I think that's a very important part to have it clipped in. After the run, my girlfriend Lucina actually said that she was worried that having that run having that comment at the very start of the run would like remind me that people were watching and like scare me or whatever. But it actually kind of calmed me down a little bit because I was so stressed. I was being told like the way I handled this was unacceptable. I suddenly have to do this run in a very different way than I was expecting that I would have to, in the way that I had practiced. Because like the mental energy for like engaging in a conversation versus the mental energy and being the sole presenter is very big different. It's a very big difference between those two things. So just hearing like my girlfriend say like it's something something sweet like that, it calmed me down a little bit. It was like, oh yeah, it's fine if this doesn't work out well. Like I have other things going on in my life. Things are good. I'm fine. So I started off the top of this. I just wanted to explain, like, oh, this is like the most accessible this version of the game has ever been, which I thought was really important because maybe there's a more recent run that I haven't seen on like a large stage, but as far as I know, all of the really like large stage appearances of Tetris the Grandmaster were before 2022, when Tetris the Grandmaster came out for Switch and PS4. And so I really wanted to, for the people who have like kind of been following the game exclusively through SGDQ, let them know off the top that, hey, if this is a version of Tetris that you think is cool, great news. It is officially available in a very accessible way. You can just go onto the eShop, search Tetris the Grandmaster, and boom, there it is. Or whatever the eShop equivalent is for PlayStation. I don't have one. I think it's also you can play it on PS5. I'm not sure exactly how the backwards compatibility works, but my understanding is you can play it on PS5. But yeah, so this like early section of the game, I had just been talking to Margot. Margot was in the room for me for this, by the way. She just wasn't allowed to give commentary. But we had done like a practice run before this, and I basically, when I told her, because Margot isn't like a speedrunner, I just basically told her, like, if you have any questions at any point in the run, that is the absolute best thing that you could do, is just ask me questions. Because I don't know, like, how to make this interesting in a way that the previous games, like the previous presentations have been, just off of, like, pure insight. So I think that just like having like a Q&A from like a pure outsider's perspective was going to be like a really cool way to do this. But I thought that it was a good experience to have that like practice run with Margot. We didn't do like a full run, but we did a little mini run. And I remembered the questions that she asked me, and that was very helpful for the commentary because there were like the two things that she asked that I like, there were a lot of mechanical questions, which are mostly what I explained. But the two questions that I wouldn't have thought to talk about were like basically like the history of the game and the like what is interesting about the game. Like not just like how do you get good at it, but like why is it appealing in the first place. And so I really wanted to talk about how it's like fast, but also like very intuitive, the way that the pieces move. So like this is kind of like, it looks really cool and it is a very fun version of Tetris, but it's actually more intuitive than something like, I didn't want to call out like other versions of Tetris to like say compare them to this game in a way that made the other games sound bad, because that's actually something I really didn't like about the 2015, I want to say, presentation of Tetris the Grandmaster, is that they kind of trash talked other versions of Tetris. I wanted to not engage in that, because I think like there's a lot of really good versions of Tetris, and also I think it just kind of is like needlessly antagonistic towards other communities. That's something that I really didn't like about the Smash community back when I was in that like people who really liked Smash 4 would talk crap about Melee, people who really into Melee would talk crap about Smash 4, and I didn't really like seeing that like in Tetris also, so I didn't want to trash talk NES Tetris. So instead, I just talked about this game on its own merits as being like really fast and interesting, because the pieces move in an intuitive way that really complement the mechanics of the game. Because once it gets really fast, you need those pieces to be able to maneuver over the rough terrain of your stack. And so having that, the fact that they roll over the bottom instead of just like rotating around the center, of the piece, which most of them don't even have a true center anyway. So like, I've always found it kind of weird how many Tetris games try to like make them rotate around a center. Rolling makes more sense to me. This honestly was like, it felt like a really, really mid run to me at the time as I was playing it. That's probably just because like I was getting like high 11, low 12 minutes in practice, and this was on pace for like a low 13. But like looking at it now, it's like, yeah, for a stage run, this was like super, super solid before everything started falling apart. That garbage that I made there, it's like the first like really big like thing that I was like, okay, well, gosh, I wish I hadn't done that. However, it did give me a chance to explain the mechanics of like, which I think actually this is when I get interrupted, but this has allowed me to explain that in this game, because the pieces eventually start like instantly teleporting to the bottom anyway, and you have a certain amount of time to maneuver them, it actually doesn't matter what your height is past 20G, or even like, you know, leading up to 20G, honestly. It doesn't really matter how high your stack is as long as the top of it is clean. So if you can just get that garbage to the bottom and then build clean on top of it, then it's basically the same. I didn't get to finish that explanation because this is the big fan gamer donation that everyone in chat and a lot of my friends, including, you know, Nick, you're here, have messaged me saying like, oh, is that what messed you up? Or is that, you know, did that throw you off? And I'm not going to lie, it did a tiny bit, but I think that it really just looks worse than it is because, like, I'm prone to mistakes. Like, I'm a 12-minute Grandmaster. I'm not a 10-minute Grandmaster. Most of the people who have done games on quick appearances for Tetris in previous years have been 10-minute Grandmasters, which there is a very big skill gap between those two times. Someone in chat's asking, Nick in chat is asking, one of my friends from Arizona, who I called out in the run, for people watching on YouTube, is asking, couldn't I have put the piece all the way over to the left, which I'll explain now why I couldn't, because this is actually an interesting thing that I didn't get to explain because I kind of had to reorient myself after switching to 20G. But so the reason why I couldn't get the line piece all the way over to the left is because there's only 2 squares of clearance here on the left. Like, it's like totally flat, and then we have the two columns on the left of clearance. The line piece is the one piece in this game that doesn't roll along its bottom. It actually rotates along this square. It rotates as though this square were an axle. And so when you rotate it, it will make it so that these 2 pieces go underneath and this piece goes on top. So if you're going to the, if you have a right side well, then what you need is just 2 pieces below it. Like if it were like, if we assume that it was like on here, it wouldn't be able to rotate either. And that's why I didn't put it over here either. Because it only has 1 square of clearance. And on this side, because it's the 3rd square from the left that is its axle, it would not be able to rotate on this side either because it doesn't have any free squares underneath it. And the line piece doesn't wall kick. Therefore, it would like try to rotate. It would see, okay, there's 2 squares underneath me and I need to put my 2 squares there. Therefore, I can't rotate. And any other piece, except for I, looks to the left and says, can I be there? If I kicked there, would it be fine? And then looks to the right and say, if I kicked there, would I be fine? The eyepiece is the eyepiece is such a little pillow princess in Tetris the Grandmaster because it doesn't rotate along its bottom. It doesn't wall kick, and until the 3rd game, it doesn't even floor kick, which would be like the one thing that would make it like its saving grace if it was at least the only piece that floor kicked. But no, it doesn't floor kick either, so it's just fucked. The eyepiece is just fucked. That's why like the whole meta of this game. No, you're totally fine. I wanted to like use this opportunity to explain things that I didn't get to explain during the run also. But yeah, so like the whole meta of this game at like just kind of in general, especially at the high speeds, is that you want to make sure that you have a right side well, not a left side well. I just went to the wrong directions, but you know what I mean. A right side well, not a left side well, because if you the piece has a right side bias in this rotation because it's on the right side of the piece, its axle. And if you have like a gentle slope, like if you can imagine, if I had like a full well, and then like it was like this was the top of the wall, and then like one piece up, and then if this part was like two pieces up, so it was like a staircase down into the well, that's actually totally fine because that staircase will make it so that the third piece from the left has two blocks of clearance underneath it. But that same staircase does not get you two lines of clearance, three pieces to the left on the left side. And so the left side, way less maneuverable. The left side well is something to be avoided for sure. Anyway, so I wish that I had come up with a better backup plan for what to do if I topped out, because I was going back and forth between showing off Secret Grade or something else. Maybe I would show off something from Tetris to Grandmaster 2, but I wasn't actually sure if they would be fine with me doing that, and I forgot to ask. So I didn't know what to do. However, right before I started the run, I had actually accidentally gone into 20G mode and thought to myself, like, oh, wait, okay, no. Hold on, let me go back out of this. I got to go into the regular mode because I'm not showing off 20G mode in this run, in this marathon. But that did plant the idea in my head. It reminded me that there is just a 20G mode. And the fact that I topped out, like, right at 20G, like, at level, like, 530 or whatever, like, pretty much right when 20G starts, that just, like, suddenly occurred to me, like, oh, yeah, 20G mode. I'll just show off 20G mode. So it's like I can basically explain everything I would have wanted to explain in a full run anyway. It's just that I, unfortunately, didn't get to do it all in one go, and so you're not going to be able to get to see the GM grade flash up at the very end. But I had already explained the GM requirements, so really all I'm bemoaning is that nobody got to see my big gamer dick for how cool I am for getting 20G live at a marathon, which is what I was hoping for. I was hoping that everybody would know that I had a big gamer dick. But whatever, there are other days. I will live to fight another day. I actually got invited to do a hotfix today. They were like, hey, would you like to do a run back, like a Charlotte's Redemption kind of event on GDQ Hotfix July 9th at 10 p.m. However, I work tonight because I just got back from vacation, and, that's just how that goes. So, unfortunately, I'm not able to do that. I was actually worried that I was going to get banned from SGDQ, or from GDQ in general, because of not having done the tech check and, doing the run on a different computer than I had done the original tech check on. I was actually very worried that I was going to be banned. I am less worried about it now, given that they had invited me to do a GDQ hotfix. I feel like they probably wouldn't do that if I was banned. Though who knows? Maybe they haven't ironed out who exactly is banned at the event yet, and they won't do that until after the event is over and everyone is, they're reviewing the whole event. But hopefully not. I would like to go to AGDQ 2025. That would be very nice. But yeah, I was also, okay, I gotta say though, by the way, looking at the performance at 20G, I'm really, really sad that I didn't have a better a better 20G performance. I think you'll understand if I tell you that my mental was a little bit shot. My mental focus was a little bit shot after topping out.
Keep it up, Charlotte. This commentary is fantastic.
I wasn't really okay. So Jadelyn on the stream, she just said, like, this commentary is fantastic. Thank you for explaining all of it. First of all, I'm very touched at how many times I've been told, both online and from friends of mine, that my commentary was very good during the event, because I was actually like really, really concerned about that. I was so reliant on the co-commentator in and I had changed co-commentator lineups 3 times leading up to this event, because my first thought was I wanted to have two people from Tetris Book Club co-commentating with me. And then one of them said that they would get back to me, and then like a couple weeks before the event, I checked in on them, and they said like, oh, sorry, I'm not really comfortable doing that. And then the other friend of mine from Tetris Book Club, they said they would do it. However, there was a chance that they might, their situation might change and they might not be able to. And they gave me plenty of notice. In fact, the reason why I asked the other person for an update was because the other one had told me like, hey, my situation has in fact changed and I can't go. So that was unfortunate, but that gave me plenty of time to ask my IRL friend Margot to do the commentary. And I swear, I actually think that would have been really, really good commentary, because Margot is first of all, a theater kid, so that's going to be like, good, high energy. I know that she is just like a very charismatic person, and it would have been really fun to have like an outsider's perspective on a game like this, and just being able to like get asked questions. And I think that would have been really nice, especially for Tetris, because there's so little that's like easily apparent to the audience. And I think I'm explaining mechanics that make sense to explain, but I've been like, my brain has been inside the vat of Tetris for so long that I kind of like don't really know what the average citizen of the world thinks about Tetris anymore. So that outsider's perspective would have been really good. I forgot why I started talking about this. Oh yeah, my commentary was shot. So you notice that I'm not really talking that much at this point in the game. It's because I've kind of like run out of things to talk about, or like I haven't run out of things to talk about, but I'm so like not sure what to say beyond talking about like the 20G mechanics. And I was also like kind of thinking like, is my commentary shit? Am I like playing like shit and nobody likes hearing what I'm saying? So hearing the donation and the host both say that I had good commentary did help my mental a little bit. And so that inspired me to explain IRS. Because I was like, I actually like not sure if IRS was worth explaining, but I was like trying to like search my brain really quickly for just like what are some mechanics that are 20G exclusive that I could explain that aren't like super esoteric. And IRS came to mind, which I think, since I'm trying to, partially one of my goals with this run is to encourage people to support the official release and play Tetris the Grandmaster on their own Switch, on their own PS4. I think explaining something like 20G, like IRS, that's like so immediately actionable, is really important. So I'm really glad that I got reassured that my commentary was good, so that I was inspired to just pick some random mechanic. I literally was like, okay, there's like nothing happening right now because I'm like playing so bad that I feel like I'm not really showing off any interesting mechanics, but I can at least talk about an interesting mechanic. I also wasn't like super inspired to give it like my 130%, because I was like, well, I'm not gonna like finish this run anyway, so like whatever, man. Oh, me saying perfect already, by the way, like off the stream, but like in my ear, there was somebody saying like, you're coming up on your estimate, so just like wrap it up with your shout outs and any like final things you want to say about the game. I when I was making my like recording for like this version of the video that I'm putting on my channel, which is a little bit longer than the one that's on the Games Done Quick channel, I did watch the chat a little bit, and I noticed that at the very end when I said shout outs to my wife and shout outs to my girlfriend, a lot of chat was like question marks. Freudian slip. Oh no, is the wife gonna watch this? Does she not know about the mistress? But no, that's actually a normal thing. I'm married to my wife, and then I have a girlfriend also separately. They both know each other. They're both friends. I'm just polyamorous. And I was happy to see that some people in chat put that together, at least. But it was funny seeing all the question marks. in the chat replay. Also, now that I'm not on GDQ and I can say whatever I want, the reason why there was like a bit of a hesitation, I was like, shout out to my friends from Michigan and Arizona. There's a Discord that they're in called Los Pendejos, and I wanted to say shout outs to Los Pendejos. But then I thought about it for a millisecond, and I was like, probably don't say pendejo in the Games Done Quick chat, the multilingual chat that has people who know what pendejo means and is definitely not child appropriate. By the way, this like absolute like fall apart here at the very end was intentional. I wanted to have like a second top out as like the way to go out, because otherwise it would just kind of be like me topping out on purpose, and I feel like that's a little corny. Like, you know, just like the like stack like line on like piece on piece on piece on piece to just make like the lightning bolt up to the top. I wanted to have a slightly more artistic top out. So that's Games on Quick. That was my Games on Quick experience. After this, I went downstairs because I was at my friend's house. I was on vacation, and I asked my friend, "Hey, is this the kind of neighborhood where if I went into the backyard and screamed at the sky, the cops would get called?" And he was like, "Yeah. I do have a basement though." So I went down into the basement and I hurt my throat, just screaming, "Fuck, god damn it," because I was so mad at myself for topping out. You know, I was not kidding when I said I didn't want to hear about Tetris for 24 hours on Twitter related to that. Which, by the way, I'm really glad that my Twitter was like linked on the stream and shit, so that people would go to my Twitter and see that that was my like top tweet. Because I was like so not ready to hear like a million people say like, "Oh, you topped out, but you know it was still really good" or whatever. Because like I felt like I played like shit. However, I will say, I could not avoid hearing that from my wife and the two friends that I was hanging out with. And they both said, you know, Margot, and my co-commentator to be, and the friend whose house we were staying at. And they all said, you know, the top out was unfortunate, but it was a really good run going up to that. And it's unfortunate that you had to do solo commentary, but given that you had to do solo commentary, that was really impressive. And that made me feel a lot better. Like, you know, I have this like vision in my head of like hating the reassurance, I guess, but like when you can't avoid the reassurance, it's like, oh yeah, that does actually feel good. So you'll just like a couple hours later, I just updated the thread where I was like, please don't contact me. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. I've made peace with it. And, you know, the more I've thought about it, and like I've rewatched this stream twice now. This is my third time. I really do think that like it was a very solid run, and it did fall apart at like level 400 or so when the donation got read. Again, I don't think the donation was the cause of it. I think that like exactly that kind of misdrop into several pieces being placed in a kind of like inelegant way and not really like rolling with the punch of the misdrop. That is something that I've often struggled with. It doesn't usually lead to a top out, but like by the time I topped out, we were well past the fan gamer donation. So I really don't think that you can put that at the feet of either Fangamer or Jadelin or Games on Quick or whatever. This is just a weakness of mine as a player that happened to rear its head during this particular run. I would really like to submit Tetris the Grandmaster to more marathon runs now. Now that I've done it the one time, I feel like the nerves of doing Tetris live are a little bit out of my system, and I think that I could do a better job next time, especially if I could actually like get a commentator And I think that it's easier to find a commentator for a smaller event because a lot of people are kind of nervous about doing something larger like Games on Quick. So, hopefully that works out. That's something that I would really be interested in doing in the future. In the meantime, that is my Games on Quick story, and I hope that you all have a great day.